Today's meditation will be led by Hillary Stewartson. So I'm going to go sit while she does this. And relax. Turn it on.
Yes, this is a big crowd. Wow. Very impressive. Okay. Please close your eyes so you may focus on what I'm saying. Take a deep breath into your lungs and slowly exhale. This is going to be a meditation of gratitude. Let us be grateful that our atmosphere contains the oxygen we need. We cannot live without oxygen. That oxygen that you just inhaled is now going into your lungs and then moving into your heart. From there, it will be sent with each heartbeat through your arterial system to your whole body, even down to your little toes. Our bodies are magnificent biochemical organic machines. Ever wonder how your body maintains a certain temperature? Wonder what impulse causes your heart to beat? Wonder what your lymph system, spleen, liver, pancreas, cancer, kidneys, whatever your whole digestive system does for you daily. The bodies we live in are amazing. So give thanks to the 55 trillion cells that make up your body and work to keep you alive and operating. They know their job. I remember as a child one time I cut my finger. Each day I took the Band-Aid off to see what was happening. I was fascinated that the cut was healing all by itself. I knew I couldn't help it or make it do that. And then I realized my body was healing it for me. Finally came the day when I wasn't sure where the cut had been. It was just as it had been before. And it was amazing to me. And it still is. Sometimes something upsets this marvelous system of ours, and we need to bring in outside help to assist our body functions. And then we are grateful that we have that when necessary to help our body. And let us be grateful for this planet we live in. As well as the oxygen, we have the water we need to live. Even though we're a mile up from the sea level. Plus, our planet has a sun that sends its rays down to give us energy, directly and through the vegetable and animal food that we eat. It causes it to grow. Being grateful for what we have is important for our inner peace. Let us give thanks and our appreciation of the life each of us is living. Now, open your eyes and hear what Dr. Stong has to tell us about our water here. Turn that off.
Okay, I forgot to tell you what's coming up next week, and I'm going to do that before we turn it over to Dr. Stein. Next week, the title is Faith versus Reason, presented by Otto Rand. Otto Rand argues that faith and reason can harmoniously coexist. They are not mutually exclusive. He examines the four major scientific challenges to religion and shows that all are met without discrediting either faith, or science. His analysis involves declarations of the church and pronouncements of famous scientists. Otto Baruch Rand was born in Slovakia 84 years ago. His childhood was spent hiding from the Nazis. After the war, he immigrated to Israel, where he obtained a degree in history from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, and later he obtained his MA in History of Religions from the University of Toronto, where he also completed his MED. Okay, so now I would like to introduce our speaker, our very famous speaker today, Dr. Todd Stong. He's going to talk to us, give us an update on the condition of Lake Chapala and the area village infrastructure. Dr. Stong will tell us about the level of the lake, its purity, the fish, and the long-term prognosis of the regional water supply. Missed my place here. Sorry. He will review ongoing projects in the villages of 6 counties around the lake and provide a perspective on area government directions. Dr. Stong, a licensed professional engineer, is in his 15th season of volunteer service to the county governments and villages surrounding Lake Chapala, with a focus on water supply, wastewater treatment, and job creation. He was a CNN Heroes nominee in 2016, and he's been one of Open Circle's nominees also. Please help me welcome Dr. Todd Stong.
I might need some help over here. Okay now? Okay, good. I'm usually loud talking about I had some bronchitis the last month or so, and am I loud enough? What do you think? Super. Okay, thank you. I'm really gratified that so many people are here because it shows an interest in the land that we live in. In the lake here, the villages, and everything is here. And I really appreciate it. When you come out like this, I hope to be in contact with you. I'm an email guy, because a lot of times I write at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and you don't like phone calls then. And so I'm curious, I sent some email out to people. How many people did not get an email from me? All right? Okay, good. I have an envelope up here with a bunch of little email tags. If you want to be on my email list, just come up and grab a tag after the show here. And I'll put you on that, and you'll be bothered enough until you cancel me out or something like that. Probably the most important thing here as far as the lake goes is for me to try and convince people that the lake is safe, okay? Because what you hear from most people is always bad news, and bad news stays around forever. If you look on the internet, you find sites that are 10, 20, 50 years old, and they talk about all kinds of pollution and toxic tail and all those things. But basically, the bottom line is the lake is safe enough for me to swim in. It's about 1/4 of the level, of the ultimate level of qualifying for swimming and safety, okay? As we measure fecal coliform bacteria, the level in the lake is about 1/4 of that, okay? I've said it before, it's much cleaner than the average California beach. As far as the heavy metals go, the heavy metals are a potential problem if the lake goes down. If I take a glass of water and I evaporate half the glass, I'm going to double the concentration of whatever was in that glass. The lake's the same thing. So I provided the Governor Sandoval here in Jalisco a 24-page briefing a couple of years ago, 3 years back, saying basically this is the condition, this is what's going on, this is what the data says, and basically, looking at 40-year trends, if the lake gets down below 30%, you're starting to drink water that's too high in arsenic, lead, mercury, things like that. And so I was not able physically to make contact with him because of the rings protectors that they have in their place. But anyway, I got an email back from the water office saying, thank you, Dr. Stein. and the lake went up to about 40%. Right now, the lake's at 58%. But I can't convince somebody, like one lady says, I'm not sure you're going to drink some water today. You said, but maybe you're faking, see? And so I'm saying, you have to trust me. I have water here, and I'm going to prepare this first, okay? Which bottle, what was from water I bought, off a bottling company, and which water came from the lake? They look pretty clear, don't they? I think amazingly so for most of you who only get to the edge of the lake, and you look out there and go, ooh, that's really bad looking stuff, I mean, it's all muddy, and there's a dead fish floating by, and a Coke can, and some loose paper. I mean, they really don't take care of the thing around here, okay? But I'm telling you, I got this water here. This is the water I got from the lake. This is the one I bought from the Garrison. All right. And I took this and I poured it through my T-shirt, folded it 4 times, and I got some green strands. Okay. There's Lirio floating around the lake, and it breaks up and decays, and that's mostly what I got on my T-shirt. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of chlorine in here. You know, chlorine is the same stuff that we have in our stomach. Okay. All right. Good enough. Okay. Are you able to still hear me back there?
Yes.
Okay. It'll work on it. Anyway, our stomach creates hydrochloric acid to digest our food, okay? So some people who are afraid of chlorine should understand that we make chlorine, okay? We usually have salt and we turn it into chlorine and things like that to help our digestion system. So chlorine, this Clorox here is not that bad stuff, okay? For my work in Africa and Asia and here, this stuff is really good, okay? This little bottle here will make drinkable 6 tons of water. All right? This little bottle for 12 cents will allow me to drink 1 gallon of water each day for 4 years. But for 12 cents, okay. Yeah, it says vitamin B12. That's not right. It's bleach, okay? It's bleach. Right? Now normally, I tell you that I take this finger, it's a specially calibrated one, and I put bleach up to this knuckle right here, but that's with a liter. But today I wound up with a smaller one, so I'm going to put in less bleach, and let me do that right now. And so I need the bleach to be in here for about 15 minutes before I can drink it. Because the bleach runs around and finds anything that's organic and eats it up. Right? And so that's the key. You want to hold that for me? Yeah, I need I need my assistant. Okay, so I'm just going to put it to the first joint, okay? And then I'm going to put that in here. Shake it around like that. Good. Hold that for me. Put the cap back on. All right.
You want it to drink it, right?
Not I'm going to let 15 minutes go, okay? We'll do that. And so, anyway, I'll put it out here so I remember to drink that one there. But I'm hoping that, you know, that if I drink this, you know, you'll count to 10 and figure I'm going to die or something. And if I don't, then you'll believe me, okay? All right. Again, you know, imagine, you know, in the world, 12 cents will give you a gallon a day for 4 years. You know, and people are dying all the time, okay? And when I'm in Africa, I told this before, they're afraid of bleach, okay? Because they think that's why I'm white. And you don't want to be white in Africa, I'll tell you that. Okay. You know, I got a call or an email from Margaret back in around October or something like that, telling me I would be able to speak today. And I was grateful for it, and I began to think about things, and I had a knee that's been going bad here for a while. And in the villages, they give me a burro so I can ride around this burro. And I like burros because when you fall off them, it doesn't hurt. Right? Horses are really hurt when you fall off the horse. And so anyway, I now told the village I don't need a burro because I got a new knee in October, and so it's working okay. And while I was there, and I was, you know, down for a while, I decided to grow some whiskers for fun, okay? But it's a disguise that hasn't fooled too many people. Okay, so anyway, I got here, I started gathering up information, and you get lots and lots of things, okay? I think, you know, how about NAFTA? How about the wall? How about what's going on with the political parties? You know, what's going on with the lake? What's going on with the villages? Why is there no money? You know, there's all kinds of things going on, and I'm getting up, you know, bits of paper all piled up, you know, things that you might talk about here. And I got to the point where I've written down a lot of things, but I'm sort of confused, you know. You know, what do you talk about if they ring the bell on here? Where's Blue at here? Okay, yeah, see, she's going to hold a sign and tell me, you know, to quit. And so anyway, I want to try and get out as much as I can. Let me before I jump into this, what I have here first, I have like a 7-minute introduction I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning, and at that point I knew what to do, okay? You know, you have this outer brain, which is sort of iffy, but the inner brain, when it talks to you, you know, that's when you really learn a lot of stuff, okay? If you can listen to the inner brain like that, and so it talked to me about 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up, you know, got out on my little typewriter with my 2 fingers, 1,000 pages a year with these things. That's why they're so short. But anyway, you know, I decided to have a light intro, you know. It might be a little bit negative, it might be a little bit sober, but, you know, an intro. And that was, I thought was going to be better because I might not be able to touch everything. I will provide anybody who would like a copy of everything I'm saying, plus much, much more, by email, if you contact me by email, okay? I'll do that. But let me take about 3 quick questions here first, and we'll do that, and then I'll jump into my intro. I'm looking for a question out here. Okay.
A few years ago, you spoke about the pipeline to Guadalajara.
Yes.
What is the condition of that today?
Yeah. There is a single pipeline that you can drive a Volkswagen through that carries the water from the lake to Guadalajara for 3 million people. Everywhere in the world, when we do a pipeline for a major city like that, we put in 2 pipelines. They had the money for 2 pipelines. They dug the ditch for 2 pipelines. After they put the first pipeline in, they said, oh, we're out of money. You know, that's a Mexican habit. You know? And so that pipeline went in 1990. You know, it's now 26 years, okay? All right. Statistically speaking, a pipeline like this has a 1% failure rate starting at 20 years, okay? 1%. Not much, okay? And I talked to the head of water in Guadalajara, and he said, Dr. Stong, it's really interesting what you're saying, but I'm going to retire. So the way I look at it is this. The pipeline has 7,000 sections, okay? 7,000 sections. 1% of 7,000 is 70 sections are statistically ready to blow up now, okay? And so the government doesn't want to hear me about that. You know, as a backup, I'd like to run a pig through there, an electronic pig, which puts out radiation. And as it goes down the concrete pipe, there's steel wires going around. If there's a broken wire, it'll go ping, ping, ping. And then I can put a stake in the ground and we can say, this is a section that might blow up. Okay, I like to do that, but I haven't got any positive vibes out of the current government. But that's going to blow up. And when it blows up, it'll wash out a village or 2 maybe on the way up there. And in Guadalajara, you know, when your wife is on the 3rd day with no flushing toilet, you know, she's going to leave home, right? And so there's going to be 3 million people in Guadalajara go somewhere, and it might be here. Next question.
Would you speak to the pesticide, herbicide, insecticide residue in the lake, please?
Okay. Okay, you know, I'll do the barking. Yeah. No, he wants to know the status of pesticides, herbicides, and those kinds of chemicals in the lake. We don't have a lot of data, okay, number 1. Number 2, we probably have the most coming in from the berry fields on the west end here, okay? There was a PhD study a couple of years ago looking at the birth defects among the pelicans, and he was trying to measure things and see if it was pesticides in that, okay? And in the water and other places. And it turned out it was pretty low, okay? And so that's all we have. Okay? I mean, the good thing is the lake is a big lake, okay? And, you know, and we engineers, we're not quite scientists, you know? We're sort of con men. And, you know, and for us, you know, as we say, the solution to pollution is dilution, okay? If it's polluted, throw in some more water, okay? All right, so the pesticide thing, I think I'm not going to worry about that. Next question.
Can we just wait for a mic so everyone can hear the question? Okay.
I've heard a story. I've heard a story for years that manatees were brought into Lake Chapala to deal with the lidio problem, but that the fishing communities were never informed and the manatees were either killed or caught in nets. Can you tell us if that's true or not?
Yeah, I think they speared every one of them. And I don't know if they ate them or not, but the manatees didn't make it here. You know, communication problem, maybe. You know, at that time there were like 5,000 fishing families. You know, and you see this guy going along in the water. Like we had down in Florida. And yeah, they're supposed to eat the grass, but there's no grass in the lake. Okay, there's only grass at the edge of the lake. And because the lake goes up and down, the edge of the lake moves in and out. And so the biggest problem, is that me or somebody else? Right. So anyway, the biggest problem there is that when the lake moves out, it's all mud, okay? When the lake stays stable, we grow grass on the edge of the lake, okay? And that's where mama fish puts all of her eggs, okay? And that's where the little fish grow up to be big enough to run fast enough to get away, all right? So one of the major reasons we don't have any fish in the lake right now is because the lake is not stable. The edge moves out a couple hundred feet at a time. All the place where the eggs are dropped on is mud, and tilapia like to eat them all up. And so, that's part of the answer. Okay, all right, let me just jump into my little intro here. Okay. The lake right now is 58%, 59% full. It will never be full. It's totally a political issue among the 5 states along the Lerma River. We're the last state in line, and I don't know what to say. Governor Sandoval doesn't want to argue strong enough to get the lake full, okay? And I think he's satisfied with some other things among his constituents, and has agreed to keep the lake where it is now. And I'm happy if it's 40%, 50% full, because again, it's safe as a drinking water source for Guadalajara. It's safe for swimming. But I do not imagine the lake will be filled in the next 50 years. And not many of you are going to reach that point, And so I'm counting my years on these fingers right now. So anyway, okay, nationally, this is the 5th year in a 6-year government. And about 15% of the people are happy with the government, which isn't a whole lot, okay? And so President Enrique Peña Nieto is not doing real well, okay? He started out real nice, and he's sort of a Ken doll kind of guy, married to a novella star. In Mexico, the women vote more than the men, and the women voted for him, okay? And that's what they got, the husband of a novella star. Novella is soap opera, okay? Soap opera. And so he had a lot of promises for education and judicial reform and drug cartels and corruption and the economy. And I don't think any of these have come out at all. And so the population is pretty unhappy there. And the country has gone through a big cut in the budget. The price of petroleum has dropped by 50% in the last 2 years. 50%. And petroleum used to be 40% of the budget, and now it's about 30% of the budget. So it's really 15% of the budget if you cut it by 50%. The other thing is the peso dropped here in the last year by about 40%. So the federal government is in very tough straits for cash, okay? Cash to take care of these projects, also to feed corruption, okay? There just isn't much around. I came back this season. I have 21 projects prepared, ready to go in 14 villages. I need about 80 million pesos, and nobody wants to talk to me because they don't have much money, all right? And so anyway, we're in a time where there isn't money and there isn't confidence in the government. It's a doldrums, you might say, for Mexico nationally. The automobile industry is going along great. Mexico remains #1 making TVs. They do a lot of medical equipment, a lot of electronics. They're #2 in cement. Mexico is the number 15th or 16th country in the world out of the 190. Okay? Mexico is a rich country, but you might not think it if you drove very far down the road. Right? The reason is that they might be 15 or 16 for GNP, but for GNP per capita, they're 66. All right? 66. And the big reason for that, honestly, is corruption. Okay, corruption. I think Canada is sort of a nice place. We have a lot of Canadians here now, and I think they're about like 7 out of 195 in corruption. The United States is about 12. All right? Mexico is 106. And so all the ones around Mexico are in West Africa. So that's the major problem for me in three numbers, okay? 16, 66, and 106. Okay, we had about 30 million poor people here. And basically they're hanging on with tortillas and beans. And the thing about them is, you can have all kinds of recessions, and we dropped dead at our 401k. We lost all of our money in the stock market. Those people don't have any of that, okay? And I'm telling you, when things go down, they don't know much difference in the village. They don't know much difference, okay? Their life goes on. They're really quite admirably survivors. Okay. I wrote something down here, but I have to read it. Okay, that's good enough. Locally being, we're in Chapala County. Lakota County, Municipio is that way, Ponce de Leon's that way, Tuxtleco, TC Pond, Ocotlán. There are counties around here. Locally, there's very little progress, And the problem here is in Chapala that they accumulated a lot of aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews on the staff, okay? And normally a municipality has about 300 people for a staff. Chapala has 700. Right? And so you even see little old ladies sweeping the highway, okay? This overpopulation of staff is eating up 70% of the budget for this county. So there's not much money to do anything. You probably don't see anything ever happen tonight here because they think you're rich and maybe you'll take care of the street, the sidewalk, and whatever it is. But if there's any money, it'll become a project in Chapala. That's locally, okay? So in a lot of ways, you might think that we're an orphan here in Ajijic and San Antonio in this region right here. And I don't think that's going to change for a while. We may have to cut back on the staff. In Mexico, you got to pay a lot of money to get rid of people, a lot of severance pay. And so one of the past presidents, in order to put his thumb in the eye of the next guy coming in the last month hired 300 people. And so, it was like a dart to the heart, right? Because then all his money went away. Village water. Ajijic and San Antonio have the best water, the most water around the lake. Okay, really good water here. Very little minerals in it that are not great, and the water is really quite abundant here. Okay. Riberas, we have a problem. We have upper well and lower well, and the lower well, the water's all yellow now. Okay. Now, yellow water, technically speaking, is not a reason for complaining. But I think most of us, if you turn on a spigot and the water comes out yellow, we're not happy, okay? And so it's usually something like sulfur. But we don't have limits on sulfur in the water. We're like we have limits for lead and calcium, or lead and arsenic and cadmium and things like that. So one well in Riberas is down. Riberas forever has had a problem with the sewers. They had no sewers, okay? They have a whole community with septic tanks. And a lot of the ground it won't perk. The water won't go into the ground. And so when rainy season comes, all the sewage comes up out of the ground, runs past your house and the next house and down in the street and down to the corner, around the corner, and down the lake. People have complained a lot. They had a lot of meetings, and nothing's happened, okay? Nothing's going to happen. And so I'm hoping to maybe do a pilot project in Riberas, to maybe make water from the lake to replace the well as the first time, because all the water around the lake is from wells. And engineers, we don't like to do that, okay? Wells are costly, 2-3 million pesos a well, and you might drill and hit nothing. You might drill and you hit lead and arsenic and a lot of things like that around here. Okay. Right recently, it's gotten your attention, maybe mine, of children dying from failed kidneys. And so I've been asked to help in this area, and this is particularly acute down the lake here. You get past Mezcal to San Pedro Itzicon, and then you go on to these other little villages down there. Agua Calientes is one of them. And we've had about 5 or 6 children, about age 5 to 10, die in the last few months. And so, anyway, the situation, in my mind, is a problem with minerals, okay? Heavy metals in the water. I've had the data for 10 years. I talked to the government for 10 years. Nobody wants to hear it, okay? But what happened here this year was somebody went to social media, okay? They put it on Facebook. And on Facebook it went into a video, it went somewhere else. And so there was a whole lot of noise about dying children from kidneys down there. And, government officials ran up, and so after about a day's deep thought, they said, "You're drinking too much Coca-Cola." Not many people would buy that, okay? So Governor Sandoval called together his chief offices, the environmental people and the health people and the water people and the University of Guadalajara. And he said, "I want you to come up with a solution there." And as best I can see, put in charge of it all was the University of Guadalajara. And unfortunately, I'm a little bit biased, I guess, against academics. I have to do things now. I have to solve problems now, and then adjust it tomorrow and the next day and get a solution for it, okay? Because we had a talk here the other day from the professor who was running that program, and he came down here. Before he came down here, I spent 8 hours writing a paper about what I thought was the problem and what could be done, and the causes and the solutions. And then I got my water test data out and made a folder up of it, and I brought it to him, and he didn't want it. Because he was personally convinced the problem with kidneys is not the water, okay? He's looking at, little Lupita is standing beside her mom, and they got a wood fire cooking, and so there's smoke there with, coming off the fire, and maybe it's the smoke pollution, okay? And so that's a big research program in one part of the university. And it's nutrition. So we're going to have 3 programs for nutrition, The people need protein, and it goes on and on. And they went to the village and identified about 5 or 6 reasons, okay? But they categorically dropped out water, okay? And so I'm going to be involved in a fight with the government here on that. And so if I don't show up next year, you know why. But anyway, okay. Now, I think, problems with the kidneys can come from some of these things, okay? Some of it can be from inhaling the smoke at the fire, and some of it can be from pesticides, and some of it can be from nutrition. But my feeling is probably 80% of it is the water, okay? And so we know if something goes to the university, they're going to study it, and that's based on graduate students, and it's semesters long, and it'll be 2 years before they come out with a report, and you won't see the report until it gets peer reviewed by another bunch of those guys. And that's not what the people need right now, okay? Their children are dying. They need something now. And so I'm disappointed in the government. And so anyway, what I'm recommending is that for all those children under age 10, we ought to look at a way to provide them subsidized bottled water. There's 1 bottle of water, 1 gallon from 19 liters will give you enough water for a week, okay? Probably 2 weeks for a little child, okay? And so I want to recommend that we do that first, okay? The second thing I'd like to do, again, is get the government to allow me to do a pilot project to take water out of the lake and purify that water like they do in Guadalajara, but in a simplified fashion, okay? One that costs 1/10 of the cost of the manufactured plants, okay? I call it slow sand filtration. We use it in Africa, and basically I have a box with sand and gravel. It's about 7 foot high. I put water in it. I let it come down through the sand about 6 inches an hour, very slow. And on top of the sand grows a green layer of algae. Right? The sand takes out the particles. It makes the water clear like that. And the algae layer eats. It consumes all bacteria and viruses. No chemicals. They still use that process in Frankfurt, Germany, and part of London. And so I like to use that technology in the villages. And because I have many wells here along, especially the indigenous villages, where they have lead, they have arsenic, and the thing they have a whole lot of it is called ammonia, or nitrogen ammonia. And when the professor came here the other day, he did not know what nitrogen ammonia was. But I have a village where it's 50 times the limit. 50 times, okay? Nitrogen ammonia is, if you have a big dump somewhere, the government wants you to catch the leachate, the water that comes through the dump, and then recirculate it and do that. And so Mexico has lots of dumps, but more so, every village, for years has done their business in the backyard. And all that human waste is going down through the ground, bit by bit by bit like that. And so like if I go to San Pedro, the village comes down the mountain like this, and the people are sitting in their houses up there, and they're defecating in the ground there, and they put the well down here. So, it's going into the water, going down to the well, they're pumping it back up, give it to the people. Anyway, the nitrogen ammonia is a real problem, but I think we need to do tests. Testing here in Mexico is very difficult. Test information. A lot of tests, the nitrogen ammonia is not a costly test, but all the tests on heavy metals are very costly, okay? I mean, it can cost you $100 for a test, $200 for a test, things like that. The government doesn't do it, okay? When the test that the government has, they'll usually put down those metals, but they'll put less than this, less than this, less than this, which means they never tested it, okay? And then they give the paper to the county, and the guy at the county, he can't read it either, okay? I mean, we have people in the county, they don't have qualified people, okay? The guy who is the head of the water system for Chapala, his credential for running the water system for this 50,000 people is he owns a liquor store. If I'm over in Pottsy Land, the guy who runs the environmental program, he bakes, they call them kimonos or something, these sort of round cakes, okay? He's a baker, okay? But now he's the environmental guy. And so, generally there are no engineers at the county level. And so that's sort of what I help to fill, is I help to give them real information, real ideas, and possible solutions. The problem here is that we have volcanic rocks around here, and if they get hot, then there's a possibility of leaching out these metals and then coming up, okay? You get down to San Pedro Rincon, the well is boiling, okay? You go in the lake, the water boiling in the lake, and the ladies are washing clothes, Oh, permafrost, I better back up. Cotton, I better get up here. That's how it works. So these kind of wells, are bad, okay? And we really need to replace all the wells around the lake. Right now, the water that goes to Guadalajara for 3 million people takes a foot off the lake per year, okay? A foot, okay? There are politicians who tell you that Guadalajara will drink the whole lake dry, okay? But they're, of course, looking to be elected, so they lie all the time. It's a foot, okay? For 3 million people in Guadalajara. The 300,000 people that live around the lake here, we can get them water from the lake for 1 inch off the lake, 1 inch. And so I hope to convince the government to let me start doing that. Okay. Okay, a little point here. I threw this in on the side. This is my intro. In 17 months, you can expect a very well-educated lady president in Mexico. I'm a political predictor. The problem is we have 3 parties in Mexico. We have the PRD, which is on the left over here somewhere, like way over here. They think that you can fly to the moon by flapping your hands. And they are so divided. They are so divided that they can't agree on anything, okay? And they have a guy by the name of Lopez Obrador, known commonly as Almo, I think it is. And he ran for president twice and failed, miserably. He has a following in Mexico City. So this party, the PRD, is dead, okay? The Pre-Party is in power right now. And as I said, they have a 15% approval rating, and with 15% approval rating and going downhill, they're not going to be able to do anything, okay? They're looking for 2 women right now to run and do something like that. They were in power for 70 years, the most corrupt years of Mexico. And then they came back this last time for 6 years. And over here is the PAN Party, which is the right party, the right-wing party, conservative party, very Catholic, very much oriented on business and trade agreements and things like that. Names like Vicente Fox, who used to run Coca-Cola here in Mexico, followed by Felipe Calderon, who now teaches law at Harvard. they are the ones that are going to come back. Okay, they're going to come back because they're confused and dead. Okay, nobody likes these guys, you know. And so what's left, right? So I'll bet you 1,000 pesos that you'll have a woman president here in 17 months. Her name is Margarita Salvador, right? Salvador. She's a lawyer. She's a professor. And guess what? Who do you think her husband is? Felipe Calderon. Anyway, a little bit on the political side there. Okay, let's see where I am here. The wages, we have a lot of inequality in Mexico. A lot of inequality. As I mentioned, the business of, it might be 15 or 16 for money, but there's 66 for money per capita. Top 20% of people in Mexico make 14 times more money than the bottom 20%. That gives you an idea. Okay? There are about 20 million people that make less than $4 a day. Around the lake here, we make 150 pesos a day. Across the lake, we make 200 pesos a day here. If you go to where they have the car factories and the TV factories, electronics, they make 750 pesos a day. If you go to the Mexico City, they make double what everybody else in Mexico makes. You know, it's sort of like being close to the flagpole kind of thing. But those are measures of the inequality that's here. When I think about inequality, let me go back a point on the villages. I have two major problems in the villages. Number one, they're drinking poison, okay? They're drinking arsenic, they're drinking lead, they're drinking nitrogen ammonia. And I want to change it. The second problem is inequality of water supply. If I go over that mountain, the villages over there are getting water 40 to 70 hours per week. Okay? Not 24 hours a day, 40 to 70 hours per week. But the villages down here, where we got the kidney problem, are getting 4 to 6 hours a week. 4 to 6 hours a week. Why is that? It's because the government doesn't know. Okay? The government doesn't ask questions. The government doesn't measure things. You know? We have sort of a saying, you know, everything that is counted, it counts. Right? If you don't count it, if you don't measure it, you know, it sort of disappears. Right? I got a lot of university students helping me last year, and we went village to village with about 20 of them, and we went house to house, and we asked the lady in the house, you know, how many hours a week and which days of the week to get water, how many hours is each day, and then I took a 2-liter bottle and put it under the sink and turned on the faucet and counted the seconds, okay? With that information, in village by village, with a lot of these helpers, I was able to tell you which streets were bad on water, which streets were good on water, and which villages were way off, and which ones were, okay? Wow. The water people in the municipio had none of that data, all right? And they didn't have any interest in collecting it either. And so that's what we need. We need to ask questions, the right questions, and gather data so we can solve problems like that. The inequality of water, you know, in some of the villages, the problem is not the well. The problem is not the pump. The problem is they can only turn it on for 4 hours a week because of electricity. They can't afford the electricity to do another 2 hours or 3 hours. And so I'm trying to get the president in that county to charge, you know, these rich guys down here a little bit more money. And we put it in a box, and then we use that money to buy more electricity over on this side. Okay. The indigenous villages down here, the ones where the heart or the kidney problem are, they're very, very poor, okay? They're very poor. And they've been there for thousands of years, okay? Because when the lake would go down in thousands of years, there would always be water down near Mescala and water out near San Cosla. The rest of the lake might be dried up. And so they've been there for 10,000, 20,000 years. If you want to find the remnants of those villages, you climb up the hill 600 feet. Because the lake used to be 600 feet higher about 20 or 30,000 years ago. And then it broke through over here on the northeast corner and made the Santiago River. Right? But no water has flowed out of the river now in 38 years. 38 years. And so water comes in, 5 foot evaporates, and when it evaporates, it leaves the minerals in the water in the lake, okay? So we keep increasing the minerals in the lake, and that's why I say we're at the point now where you got to stay at 30% to not be, drinking mercury, basically. So in time, we'll have to kick that up to 40%, 50%, but politically, nobody wants to fill the lake. But at some point in time, we have to flush the lake out. The reason the lake doesn't get full is that the Lerma River, 400 miles long, going through these 5 states, has now 500 dams. Okay? They can hold every drop of water they want with those dams. 80% of the water is used by irrigators who have no meters. So you want a foot of water on your corn or 3 foot of water, okay? It doesn't matter. There's no control on that. And so that's why the water's not coming here. The full flow of the Lerma River came to Lake Chapala up until 1930, from Fred and Wilma Flintstone up to 1930, okay? And it went on out to Santiago River, up past Guadalajara, out to the Pacific. But after 1930, they started doing this irrigation, this Babylonian technology. And by 1990, we were down to 10% of the river coming, 10%. We've had several years since then, 1990, where no water's come to the lake. And so I watch that a lot, and I try to spread the word a little bit. When I try to get information like this to update you, I have to go visit the village people, and then I visit people who know what's going on, okay? I sort of call them my spies. I mean, I help them and they help me. Anyway, okay, so the indigenous people down there, for thousands of years, they lived off of fish and chayote. Because the mountain comes down so steep, it's just rocks. There's very little ground to grow corn or beans or anything like that. And so the fish are gone, okay? And that was their protein. The chayote is having problems right now. And I collected leaves the other day, brought them here, and we determined it's a fungus, okay? And so the first thing I told them to do was, every leaf they could find, cut it off and back 3 inches and burn it right away. Don't throw it on the ground, get all that stuff out because it'll spread. And in the meantime, I'll see if we got any fungicide, but I don't favor the fungicide because they don't have the money for that, okay? And so I have one in mind, but it's about 200 paces a hectare. Okay. Air quality. We're rather lucky here, The major air that comes this way comes from the east, all right? That's the major air. The least air coming here is from the north, okay? 1% of the wind. That means all the pollution in Guadalajara doesn't come over here, all right? We really have great air here, okay? Great air, and you all right here have great water. But Mexico City right now is sort of like Beijing, China. Breathing air in Mexico City and Beijing is like smoking 40 cigarettes per day for every man, woman, and child. And they don't know what to do about it, okay? I mean, China is overbuilt and it has built its factories too, and it's trying to keep people working, and it has Muslim uprisings in the West, and Greece went down when their GDP, when their debt was about 150% of GDP, okay? China is about 300%, right? But since it's a communist country, they don't have to justify anything, okay? And so they keep all the economical, factors inside the country. Japan is about 200% debt to GDP. And the reason Japan's, I'm about to be killed, I think.
No, you're not, Todd. I'm sorry for interrupting. We're going to let Todd go on until noon because we know a lot of people have questions and stuff, but anybody that needs to leave now, if you just quietly leave without conversation, and we'll listen to more of what Todd has to say. Sorry for the interruption.
Thank you. I often forget when I get to the refrigerator why I went there. And so I forget where I was. Japan, okay, Japan. The reason Japan can have a high debt is because all of the debt in Japan is held by Japanese. Right? They don't sell their debt outside. We sell our debt to Russia and to Saudi Arabia and all these other countries around the world. And so if they think we're shaky, they're going to not lend us any more money. And we, in the last administration, doubled the entire debt of the United States in those 8 years. And so we're in a tough position right now. Tough position. I think we're about 105% of GDP for debt. Okay, the wall. Somebody's going to fall over dead over here. Okay. We have an interesting guy as president, right? He's not a politician, right? I mean, it's like we're switching from playing baseball to playing badminton, you know? I mean, it's a big change, and his way about doing things is to sort of exaggerate, okay? You know, I'll hire this guy out to you for $2,000 an hour, but if we talk, I'll do it for $1, you know? Yeah. And so we've had a lot of talk about the wall. We have a 2,000-mile border. 700 miles of it already has what I call a barrier, okay? We don't have a wall, and as an engineer, we're not going to build a wall. A wall is really expensive. A wall is double the cost of a barrier made out of metal or something like that. I mean, can you imagine all the concrete trying to go 2,000 miles over the mountains and the deserts and all that kind of thing? Cemex, which is the #2 cement company in the world, is in Mexico, and they have raised their hand and we'll build a wall. There's a Mexican internet site that was joking about the wall, and they have a picture of the wall, and it comes across the border like this, across Mexico. It's 100 foot high, and 60 foot wide, and it's purple. I mean, it'd be an enormous cost, okay? We're not going to do that, okay? So when they first started the wall kinds of things around 1994, they determined we had to put some kind of barrier to slow people down. Nothing will stop people, okay? It'll just slow them down. So they decided that the populated areas like San Diego, California, and the towns to the east of that, you know, they put in barriers. Sometimes there are 3 metal walls, you know, 20 foot high, about 20 foot apart. Climb over the first fence, you know. You climb over the second fence, you know. Somebody's going to see it, right? I used to be the engineer for the city of West Berlin, and we had the wall in Berlin, okay? And so what they did was they had Doberman pincers, okay? And they had steel cables up and down the way here, and the Doberman pincer could run faster than you know? And he would get you, okay? But most of the people, the wall, you know, they told the East Servers the wall was to stop us from getting in, but, you know, most of the people coming in were getting out were them, okay? Either with a balloon or most of the people escaping East Berlin were guards, okay? And so they finally had to say, you know, where are you from, you know? And, you know, well, I'm from, you know, Pennsylvania. Oh, you're from Iowa. That's okay. You two can be a guard. But we can't have 2 people in a town both from Pennsylvania because they'll beat it over the wall. It's the same way. The idea of the wall is not going to happen. We have about 700 miles of the border, which are mountains that are so darn rugged, you know, that you kill yourself trying to get over them. You cannot get over with a vehicle. And then we have a lot of desert, all right? And the roads that are near the border are like 30 or 40 miles back. So you have to go 30 or 40 miles before you can get to the crossing point. And so the probability of people crossing there is very low. And so the border people, you know, are not interested in a wall there. So we got about maybe 300 or 400 miles of barrier that might be built, something like that. And that'll be in places like Laredo. We already did El Paso, and maybe down around Matamoros, you know, mostly urban areas. That's what's going to happen. So the wall is sort of a game, okay? And again, it's a $2,000 an hour price I put on this gentleman up here. You know, it might turn out being $1.50. But anyway, it's going to be a barrier. It'll be metal. You like it to be metal because you can see what's going on the other side, okay? You got a wall, you know. Are they digging over there? What's going on, you know? You don't know, right? But if you can see through the thing, you know the guy's over there building a ladder, or some have a catapult, okay? They're taking marijuana and they're throwing it over the wall, you know? Like that. You can see those kind of things happen. Anyway, the wall, we pay about $25 million a year for border protection. The wall will probably be about, the wall that they built might be about 10 million, something like that, or 10 billion, something like that. So it's going to be possible, but it's going to be only part of it. Okay. Okay. NAFTA. NAFTA's been around, I think, around 20 or 25 years or something like that. And NAFTA is a boom in Mexico. Okay. Before NAFTA came, in Mexico, all the manufacturing was to make goods for Mexicans. Okay. Right? And after NAFTA came, you know, it was an enormous jump in the industrial part of Mexico. Just like I said, the car industry, they make more automobiles in Mexico than they do in Canada and the U.S. put together. They're number one in the world in TVs and things like that. They put out 100,000 electronic engineers every year. It's really growing a lot. But the thing about NAFTA is it's two-sided. I mean, we're shipping parts over to Mexico. They're putting them together, and then they're shipping the cars back. And I think 80% of the denim, you know, for the jeans and all that kind of thing, comes from Mexico. I have a number somewhere here if I can find it, but I won't look for it right now. I think around 10 or 15 million Americans depend on things coming out of Mexico. Right? And a lot of Mexicans, of course, do. So you're not going to do a whole lot. You got to be careful about that. You got to be careful of how you change things because it affects both the Mexican side and the U.S. side. So I think that NAFTA is going to survive most of this time. Education. Mexico is a member of the family of EODC countries, okay? Organization of Economic Development or something like that. Anyway, 35 rich countries, okay? Mexico is one of those rich countries. Remember, it's 15 or 16, all right? Education in Mexico among those 35 countries is absolute last. Absolute last, okay? All right. Education system here is terrible. I mean, you can buy your job, your children can inherit your job, you know, or you can bargain it for some other way. And President Peña Nieto, you know, he went up and arrested that lady there. It was the union leader. You know, she's still in jail, and you know, she had a lot of properties up in California, and she had millions and millions of dollars that got missing in the budget, union budget. But you know, when I'm in Africa or I'm here or something like that, whenever you get rid of one corrupt guy, you know, the next guy jumps over in his chair. There's a line of people waiting for every one of those jobs, okay? And so, yeah, that lady's, you know, she's behind bars, but, and Peña Nieto tried to take control by controlling the salaries of the teachers, okay? And so, what the union did was they then said, okay, we want you to come to all of our rallies, all of our riots, all of our meetings. You know? If you come to those, we're going to give you points. And so whoever has the most points gets the best job. So they lost control of the salary. So we have a lot of unqualified teachers, and some of the teachers are arguing, I should have credit for knowing about Mayan and Inca culture. You know, I don't have to know anything about ABCs or 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we have a big problem there of corruption. In the villages down here, it's very, very common for the teacher to come to school, to attend school, 3 days a week. All right? The kids come to school the other 2 days and ain't nobody here. No, it's pretty bad. I don't think that we can change it very fast. My own thought is that we have the opportunity now of a lot of education online, a lot of education free. And I would suggest that we might pick out the 10% brightest children in the village and somehow put them in a computer-based, you know, self-paced learning program to come on up and become the stars in their village. To show, you know, mom and dad and, you know, and Tia and Theo that they're doing real well. I think we need to try something like that. Let's see, where's Linda? Yeah. These ladies, you know, you can't tell who they are anymore because they change their hair. I mean, men really get confused, okay? Linda's from New York City, and she's with a bunch of other teachers, and we got together last year, and Linda's is working on a program to have sort of a bridge between children in Mexico to the U.S. by email. Right?
Bridges, not walls.
What's that?
It's called Bridges, Not Walls.
Bridges, not wall. Right. And so anyway, we're going to work with a village down here called Socio-political, and the principal is really ready to go. And Linda arrived 2 days ago, and she and I guess her bodyguards there. Yeah. We'll go down there and we'll start on it. We need to get some computers fixed, and so there are some computer fixers in here somewhere. And so if you know how to fix a computer, you might volunteer to help us check out the computers. But we want to get those children to start talking, communicating, understanding, what do you do in your town, what goes on in your village, what do you do at school, and get some of that. And I think that politically it can be well received and can spread across Mexico. And so we think we'll start down in Tecomotlan, a little village of about 800 people, and then we'll go on. Okay. What do I think about it? Rule of law. Rule of law. Okay. 90% of the crimes in Mexico are not reported. 90%, okay? All right. Of the 10% that are reported, 15% are investigated. So 15% of 10% is like 1.5% or something like that. Okay? So 1.5% of the crime in Mexico ends up being investigated. Okay? And so that's a big problem. Okay, big problem. It's easy for me. If I have a problem with somebody, I have villages I know that are professional. Anyway, okay. Drug trafficking. It's about a 320 billion worldwide operation for cocaine, and a major part of that is going to the U.S. and Canada. Right. So the number one need in Mexico is education. Okay. The number two need is to I think, and I'm confused, 2 or 3, stop the violence and corruption and the drugs. Okay. And I don't know how to do that. I'm just a mud, dirt, rock engineer. And so I come to the conclusion, which has been a struggle because I have 6 boys who are engineers, and daughters are nurses, and now I got 19 grandsons, and I'm working on them becoming engineers. And, they're not fighting it. I say, if you're an engineer, you'll have money in your pocket. You'll have a wife, you'll have a house, you'll have a car, you'll have a 401k. But you take psychology, do you want regular or high test, If you like to play a violin, that's nice. I'm just really, I'm not your advocate for the arts. I like the arts. I used to live in Berlin. I used to go to East Germany, East Berlin, and I like to go to ballet. It was really, really beautiful. And it's funny for an engineer to say that, I guess. But I found it really beautiful. I remember there was a cute redhead, her name was Steffi Garza or something like that. And so now I found out she runs a ballet school in Switzerland. So I like to go see her. But ballet, you can appreciate art without needing to know the language. Okay? And so I used to go to things like Fiddler on the Roof. Okay? Imagine Fiddler on the Roof in a theater with communists. Okay? And they bring in all the people from the villages, and they fill up the audience with them. And here comes out, Pavia, his wife, and he's pushing his milk cart, and they're singing their songs. And then come along the Russians and start beating them up and throwing them out of town. And the people are looking at each other like, ooh, should we be looking at this, They don't know. But it's, anyway, I like theater, and I don't want to kill all of it. Okay, but anyway, drug trafficking, again, the struggle I've had with my own children is that drug trafficking happens because, this lady here, she wants to buy all the drugs, right? Yeah. That's why she has a hat and dark glasses on. And so her wanting to buy the drugs causes people to want to make the drugs, want to bring them here, and then, these two people are fighting each other, with machetes and machine guns, and hanging each other off a bridge, trying to get an opportunity to sell their drugs. So I've come to the conclusion, and, I don't think I'm mad, but anyway, I came came to the conclusion that we are responsible. We in the U.S. and Canada. It's okay. So I think that we have to somehow take responsibility and start doing things, okay? All right. Yeah, let me jump on some questions here. Good. Because, yeah, that's what she gave me time for, right? Okay.
Okay, we'll take questions. Am I not? Am I on?
Yeah, we got one back here with the guy with the
Wait for the mic, please.
greenish purple shirt.
He's part of the posse.
Hello, my name is Ralph. I'm originally from Puerto Rico. I live in New York. Linda is one of my darlingest friends, and because of her and Judy is why we're here.
They're tough ladies.
But all heart. I'm a visitor. This is my second time here. My first time was 3 years ago for 10 days. This time for 15 days. I don't know how to phrase this, but it seems like there are a lot of poor people here, but also it seems like there are a lot of rich people here.
Right.
There are a lot of beautiful homes that I'm sure they cost a lot of money. And this area is small compared to the rest of...
And your question?
Why isn't the... not why. How are the money collected? How is it distributed? Why does it... Because I'm sure all these people are giving something. So where is that money going other than corruption?
Okay. There was a survey here recently with a Mexican organization that said that among the families in Mexico, 14% of their budget is paying bribes. 14%. I don't know if it's that great or not, but that's a big number, you know. Every $8 you have, or every $7 you have, you pay $1 for bribes. That happens at the bottom level. When I do projects, I might do a project for $25,000, but the money that's requested by the state is maybe $50,000, and the money requested from the federal government is $100,000. Okay? I still do the job for $25,000. The way Mexico operates the country is all the money comes from the federal. Okay? They don't give you as a state an opportunity to have taxing power. They don't give you in the city here a county taxing power. Okay? And so you get money from the federal government or you don't get money. Right? Currently, if you didn't vote for the pre-party, you might not get much money in your state. If you're in a village, I've seen villagers get no money for 3 years because they voted for the wrong party. Control like that. Locally, there's tax money, but I think we all know tax money is peanuts, okay? I can have a $300,000 house here with a swimming pool and all that, and my taxes are $200 a year. Okay? And that goes to the, what they call the Castro, I think it is. Right? That's a small amount of money. If I want a job in the county, I want to be the guy who runs the water office, okay? Because I got 50,000 people, which means I have about 10,000 families, and every one of those families is going to pay about 1,500 pesos a year for water, sewer, and trash. And so 1,500 times, whatever the number was I said, 10,000, okay? I know, it's several million pesos goes into the water office, right? That's where the most money is in the water office, okay? But when a well goes down and there's no pump, they don't have any money. Right? It's the piggy bank in the municipio for cash. It's made about 5 million pesos.
My name's Bob, and I'm a visitor here for 3 months. Let's go back to the original question or the problem with kids. That seems to me, I wonder if it can be fixed because you're talking about some liter bottles of water that can't be that expensive. And even if you were able to take an offering to do that, could you get the water to the kids? Would the city people even let you do that? Does somebody always get in the way? Because if that problem isn't solvable where you've got young kids' lives, then talking about the rest of this stuff doesn't really matter. So I'm curious if there's something, maybe this group's already doing something, I don't know.
There are people here right now. Miriam, where are you at? Okay, Miriam is like a terrorist. I mean, the officials around here hate her. Right? I mean, her picture's in the post office wall, you know, because she causes a lot of problems, you know. But she's, you know, if you want to get something done, you get a woman to do it, unfortunately, okay? So in Mexico, that's the truth, okay? I built a bottled water plant in a village down here, and it's run by women, okay? Because they don't get too drunk, okay? But the men are drunk, okay? I design my projects so they'll operate by gravity and biological processes for 1 month while the operator is drunk, okay? So, you know, a lot of things happen here because of women. And the women are running all these little programs around here. And Miriam is one of the fiercest ones. You know, I'm sure her husband is very defensive. and so we're down to San Pedro the other day, you know. And who is running the fire department, okay? Who's running the fire department? Who's in charge of the firemen, okay? It's a woman, okay? Yeah, okay. Anyway, the bottled water plant I have over here in Tlaxcala, Santorini and CL and Bonafide sell you water for, what, 25 pesos a bottle? Something like that, 20, 25 pesos a day. I make the water for 5 pesos. So you know there's a horrendous amount of profit in water. A horrendous amount of profit. All right. So, you know, I can provide those people water from my plant in Tlaxcala for about 10 pesos. And that takes care of things in the village, paying some people, putting books in the library, fixing computers, things like that. But that's one opportunity. Maybe I can offer low-cost water to them. Okay. But I don't know how you gather up the money. A lot of people around here are very intent about doing things. And again, they're ladies. And they usually sell T-shirts and baseball caps and cookies. You know. And right now I'm looking for 80 million pesos for my projects, okay? And you got to sell a lot of cookies to get 80 million pesos. Okay? So all my money I get out of the government, okay? I mean, I get out of the government hopefully by convincing them that if you do this project in this village, you'll be famous. And you can twirl your mustache, you know. And you can call the TV company and tell them what your great idea is. All right? That's how I get all my money, okay? Is I convince politicians that they'll be in good shape. Question here? Okay.
Yes. When my wife and I first came down to this area, 1999, 2001, this time of year.
That sounds like the time of the flood.
No, that was the time when we went down to the pier when we were here, and I couldn't believe it. Here's a pier, and I'm looking out about 100 yards to the edge of the lake, you know.
It used to be a half a mile.
It was way down.
Yeah.
Since then, it has come up. In fact, one time it came up so high, they had to put in the break wall, you know.
Yeah.
It was right up.
But again, it hasn't been full since for 38 years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, not full.
Yeah.
We're way down from that. If you go down to the railway station in Chapala, you'll see where the water was 100 years ago. And it was much higher than it is
Yeah,
now.
well, it was that high at least in 1930. And you could get off the train, walk through the train station, get on the boat.
But anyway, my question is because the water is up now, and they've been taking more water out, I think, in the past 25 years.
Only a foot per year for Guadalajara. But
No, but I think they're taking out more, like coming down the dams in my head, now than they were 25 years ago, aren't they?
yeah, it's being.
And we're still up higher.
Yeah.
But my question is this, because of global warming, we have situations around the world where we're getting flooding all in a lot of places, but also we're getting the very opposite, you know. And I'm just wondering, do we have any idea what's going to happen here? Will we get more water? Less what?
I don't expect a lot more water in Mexico. I mean, when we look at those studies for the global warming, I expect a drier Mexico. Again, if I can save, remember the farmers use 80% of the water, okay? If I can save 1%, if I can use 79% instead of 80%, I can provide water for 500,000 people in Guadalajara. Okay? That's the bottom line, okay? And I have to convince the politicians that 500,000 people, which are going to be added, okay? Guadalajara is 5 million people right now, there'll be 10 million later, and you got to get the water somewhere. The only solution is the Lake Chapala, okay? All the other solutions around here died.
Okay, we've got time for a couple more questions. I think there's one back here.
Todd, good morning.
Yes.
Rick Blyer. What difference will having the Navy here on the lake make?
I don't know. I'm Army myself. You know, I was 30 years of that. And when we wanted to have a good meal in Vietnam, we would go out to a ship and get a good meal. And then we went back home and slept on the ground. So yeah, I know the Navy. We have a port captain down here. A port captain. There's no ships, right? But we have a port captain. And when I want to put fish cages in the lake, I had to go see the port captain, you know, and get permission to put the cages here and there and all that kind of thing. And I put a sign up there, as per authority of the port captain and all that kind of thing. And so, pretty nice job, you know, being a port captain with no ships and no port. So,
Okay, one back here.
I don't think anything's going to happen because I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, right now, the fishermen, you know, don't have any fish. I mean, we used to have fish like this, and then this, and now the fish are down this size. When I go to a village, they have a wheelbarrow, okay? Every village has a wheelbarrow in a plaza with fish, you know, and they fillet these little fish, okay? You could be almost qualified as a brain surgeon, you know, if you could fillet these fish, okay? I mean, they're so small. There's no fish anymore. They're mommies and daddies, okay? So there's no future, right? Because the government has let things go bad here. And the people, as a matter of hunger, have taken all the fish.
Question in the back here.
Do you know what the heavy metals content of La Floresta water is? Is it dangerous?
I don't know, but I suspect that the water is actually very good. I don't think there's any heated rock there. The heated rock is in Chapala. As I might have said, I don't know, that 5 of the 8 wells in Chapala are over the limits of arsenic. But nobody tells the people, right? The water just goes out every day. 3 of the 8 wells in Chapala are over in nitrogen ammonia, okay? But they're not doing anything about it. So I would like to provide all the water in Chapala from the lake also. But it's a big bite to take off a city with 30,000 people trying to do it. So I want to do a little place with less people and show that it works, what the costs are, and what the water test data shows. But Chula Vista and La Floresta and those places, I think are in pretty good shape. Yeah.
Our last question here.
Dr. Stong, you said the fungicide for the chayote is about 200
200 pesos to spray a hectare.
How many hectares do you, any idea? I know it's early days because we've only just got the leaves, but any idea at this point how many hectares?
No, I don't have that. I mean, it's about 20 miles from here down to that area. And I say over half of those miles have chayote, you know, and some of it looks okay. But I went there, the leaves were yellow, and had these big black spots in the center, you know. And so I didn't know whether it's bacteria or whether it's virus, which you can't do anything with virus. And so I decided, you know, cut it out, burn it, you know, do that, because that'll work in all 3 cases. But I don't know. I mean, it's, but again, that's part of their food, and the fish are gone. I don't know. In my hand are a bunch of email slips. I'm going to leave these up here on the podium, and then if you want my email address, I'll put this envelope here, and you come up here and get them. I have about 40 of them, I think. And so, anyway, thank you very, very much for coming today.
Thank you very, very much, Dr.